Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You know what's interesting? It's interesting when someone does something and that's labeled as illegal, and then it keeps doing the same thing, and then after a while, another guy comes and says, well, that's not illegal. And everybody's like, it's not illegal. It's not illegal. So how in the hell was it illegal in the first place? Yesterday, this action was considered illegal with the same laws and interpretations. But today, with the same laws and interpretations as yesterday, it's not illegal anymore. It's legal, actually. Well, this is exactly what the Trump administration does to the war in Ukraine with the Russians. There's going to be a G7 meeting between the baboons plus the US. And over there is going to be discussed again a condemnation of the Russians' illegal war against Ukraine. Guess what? There's no more illegal. That means if it's not illegal, it's legal? I mean, what other option is? All right, let's start with the article that really made me make this video. Ukrainska Pravda. This is from the 21st of May 2025, 11:12 a.m. Right now, okay. Political. Trump's team opposed to pledging support for Ukraine or condemning Russia's war in G7 statement. So, is opposed to pledging support, and the other one is condemning Russia's war. Now, the thing with pledging things, unless you go in the military and you pledge allegiance, or you run for office and you pledge allegiance to this or by the Constitution and protect and so on, you don't pledge. You're not. It's a very dehumanizing act to be required by a company to pledge allegiance to the company. I pledge allegiance to the company. I'm gonna be loyal. No. What? For me. Why? Because that triggers in me something that I witnessed, I lived through, I was involved in a communist Romania, actually socialist Romania, led by Communist Party. And that is, you are supposed to pledge allegiance as a child to the president of the country, Ceausescu, a dictator. Or you have to pledge allegiance, I pledge support, and these are something like, for me, that's just a trigger. That's all. It triggers me into, like, when I hear, I pledge support, I have loyalty for, it's fake. It's just the same. I think this thing with pledge allegiance, we pledge support to Ukraine, we want to do it, you're going to do it. What's that expression these guys use? Not as far as it goes. What is that expression these guys used? As far as we can, or it's an expression like, what are they talking about? As long as it takes. What do you mean as long as it takes? Things change. It's a dynamic over there. It's not linear. It's things as long as it takes. All right, let's read this article. Politico has reported, citing two informed sources, that U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has opposed the inclusion of a pledge of continued support for Kiev. So that means if you don't have the pledge, there's no pledge. And a reference to the I'm quoting, illegality of Russia's war against Ukraine in an upcoming G7 statement. Politico revealed that two officials involved in drafting the G7 statement said problems had arisen in agreeing on the final text being prepared by G7 finance ministers in Canada due to the US position. Specifically, the United States has objected to the inclusion of language affirming continued support for Ukraine. Furthermore, Washington reportedly wants to avoid describing Russia's invasion of Ukraine as, quote-unquote, illegal. What do you think will happen? I mean, when the United States of America goes to the United Nations and stands in front of big shots like China and Russia, do you think they're going to have a problem with Canada, with Japan, with Germany, with Great Britain to tell them back the fuck off? Do you think so? It's going to be easy. What do you think? The Brits going to leave the room or something? Or do you think the Italians are going to do something? Or whomever is over there, the Canadians are going to do something? Do you think so? 40 million people, Canada. Okay, anyway, you just sneeze and they just blow like dust in the wind. By the way, 1 in 3 Canadians, actually. I think 1 in 3 Canadians are Canadians, more Canadians than everybody else. Why? Because they come from overseas, mostly from the western side. Anyway, not Vancouver, across. All right, my friends. So here it is. They don't consider it illegal and they don't pledge support for Ukraine. Why? They could have written that down. What do you think will happen? How come yesterday it was illegal and pledging support, I understand. Well, right now we think that the wind blows differently. Maybe we're sick of supporting you. But the other one, you can't consider an act like you considered a rape yesterday, but today there's not. With the same evidence you got. The same evidence. Nothing. No evidence added, no evidence subtracted. Still the same case. And the same laws, the same logic, the same... It's just... No, right now it's none no more. We're not going to write it down. Do you think they do this so they don't upset the Russians? I mean, they just agreed yesterday. I made a video. The Americans agreed to provide Ukraine with Patriot systems. Not from the United States of America, because we have none to spare, but we're going to have $1 trillion, the defense budget for the Pentagon. But we don't have Patriots to spare. We don't have enough. But we're going to ask the baboons in Europe to give theirs. Why? So our companies can build for them and get the money from the banks, because they don't work in profit over there, the guys. I have a deficit, budget deficit. So I'm not going to say illegal here, I'm not going to pledge, but I'm going to give the guy weapons. Which one would you rather have? Let's say you're with a neighbor, you're fighting with a neighbor, and it's a third party, the third neighbor. And the third neighbor gives your neighbor weapons that you can't beat the guy. Gives assistance, you can't beat. And the guy says, well, I'm going to continue to say that I give him weapons and everything else, but I won't. Or the other one is I'm not going to say I provide them with support, but I'm going to give them support. Which one would you rather have? I would rather they say anything they want, but they don't do. So the same here. I don't care if these guys call it illegal or illegal. Do you think the Russians care? The dogs are barking, the caravan keeps going. The same here. For 3 years and a half, they called it different, this and that. They put sanctions, they do all that, and nothing happened. The Russians kept going. So is it useless? Well, my problem is, why would you describe it differently today with the same set of evidence? That means it was not illegal then. Or it was illegal then, but these guys are traitors, or what? What's going on there? Do you think the Russians really care for that language? They'd rather have something else stop the war and keep the language, instead of be upset with the language, but, not be upset with the language, but don't stop the war. Anyway, I thought I should bring this up to your attention. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.